You're too much on fire. You like gospel stuff. So let's go with the scripture. So
Right.
I want us to talk about how God turns evil into good, how he uses evil circumstances, evil situations that happens to his world, to his people, to his plans, to turn it into good, convert it into something good. I guess in a
Yeah.
human level, you could say how God turns lemons into lemonade, because there's a story
Yes.
in the Bible where a farmer planted his vineyard and invested so much in it. And then after investing so much and waiting it to grow, it's a perennial. It's not like you plant today and in 2 months' time you can see already the result. It's a tree. It needs
Yes.
to grow as a tree first, have leaves first, before you can see any results. So
Mm,
you're waiting, you're working on it, you're pruning, and then the fruits come and it produced wild grapes.
mm,
And the husbandman or the vineyard owner was disappointed, right? So in the situation of God where he puts people on earth, he gives someone a plan and a purpose. And then while on earth, there are evil people that are coming. There is the devil that is coming to affect that
mm,
plan, to cause harm to that person so that it doesn't reach the end goal. But
mm,
amidst all those circumstances, before that even happens, that evil comes to your way or distracts your way, God had already provided a way out. So
wow.
when the problem is coming, it's coming to reveal, it's coming to participate in already in motion plan of God.
Mm, mm, mm.
I don't know if that
Yeah,
makes
that's
sense.
really deep. Yeah, it makes a lot of
So yeah,
sense. And it's really deep to think about it actually. And I also think that when all these situations are happening in our lives, some of the times we tend to let the problem control us, and we
yeah,
forget that the end goal is that God is already in it and God has already programmed it in a way. He's already seen the way out, but we don't see it. So we get stressed over the circumstance and the situation, and we forget that there's an end goal where we're going to get out of this situation, and nothing ever stays the same. If there's a situation today, in 10 years' time, it will not be there.
yeah,
Depending on
that's
the
true.
action that you take, the action that you take in that moment will change the situation. Of course, if you do nothing, it will stay the same. But even if, regardless, I still want to believe, even if you do nothing, that situation is not going to be the same because you also took an action of doing nothing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it gets me to think about the first humans, well, civilization, Adam and Eve, the first humans. If you look back at this civilization that started with Adam and Eve and their fall in the Garden of Eden, God created an opportunity for them to worship Him, to be loyal to Him, to submit to Him. And for that to be possible, God had to risk them not choosing Him, but choosing something else.
Mm,
He had to make that risk. So He gave them free will. And free will means I cannot control the decision you make. I can only
yes.
tell you your options and the consequences. If you eat
Mm,
this, you will live. If you eat this, you will die. Two choices: death or life, blessings and life, or curses and death. You choose. So God took that risk. And by God taking that risk, He subjected the earth to corruption. If you read Romans, you understand that by God taking that action, He subjected the world to corruption or futility. Yeah. By giving so much power to humans, to men, because He rested, right, on the seventh day. By
yeah.
Him resting means that someone with the same ability and capacity to maintain, to keep what He had created and even to create more was now present, so He could rest, so that someone can take over. So He gave so much power to men to take over and run the earth and have dominion over it and fill it up. Therefore, creation was now subject or under men. Whatever man's action and decision is, creation will suffer for it or benefit from it. So God subjected the earth to that by giving power to men. And then men with that power, they could decide to either build or destroy, to eat the tree of life and live, or eat the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and die. So that's the opportunity that God gave them. Choose me and live, or choose something else.
Yeah, to actually think that God entrusted us with so much responsibility over the earth is really something that we were never taught. No one told us this from the beginning. We had to grow into it, because honestly, if I'm to teach my daughter right now starting to put in a seed and teaching her how these things work and how she has the choice to choose life where there is also death on the side, but choose life now, and slowly teaching her and getting her to choose life, making sure she sees a clear path that, oh, this is the right thing to do and this is good for me in these many ways. And God has already entrusted her with so much power to make decisions, because as we grow up, especially as Christians, it's really not plain black and white to say this is exactly how you're supposed to do it. You think that God is going to do A, B, C, D for me, that now that I'm a believer, things are going to come easy. I don't have to do anything. God is supposed to do it for me. But you realize that the real life of a Christian is you taking action, is you putting
Yeah.
your faith to work. It's your duty to build your faith up. It's your responsibility to grow. And I remember this verse which says, each and every one of us is been given a measure of faith. So it's a certain amount of faith that you have, but you have to build it up. You have to build it
Yeah.
up. So it's a great responsibility that we have to appreciate, because where there is responsibility, there's also grace to do it. So when you have more responsibilities, you have more grace to expand and to get into it and to actually be successful in doing what God has designed you to do.
Yeah, you said something interesting at first when you said we had to grow into it. Coming into the world, we didn't know, like,
Yeah.
we assumed from what we were being made aware of at the time, we assumed that we were going to be part of the world, part of a system already established, already functional, already working, not knowing that we are also responsible for redesigning that system or replacing it all, making a whole new system. We just thought we were coming in to be part of the world, conform to it, but we're actually not supposed to conform to it. We're supposed to be coming and bringing what is inside of us to the world, so that the
Right.
world shakes and says,
Right.
there's a new gift in town, there's a new brand in town, there's a
Mm-hmm.
new president, there's a new institution, there's a new idea. Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
You see, but then we came into it thinking, oh, I'm just gonna come and follow the cycle.
Yes.
But that's not the case. We were supposed to come and dominate and introduce a new level of dominion.
Yeah. And that also reminds me of this common saying I've seen. A lot of people say this statement a lot, and I've come to think to myself, is this really true? I'm pretty sure you've also come across it, where people say that what is yours will come to you, that you will never miss it. What is yours will not miss you, and you will not miss what is yours. What is yours will come to you, something along those lines. And I also actually do not believe that, and I don't think that is actually true, because I've gotten to a point where I've tried to search the word to see if what is mine will just come to me, if that opportunity would just come to me whilst I'm seated and waiting for it. So I actually believe that if you do nothing and just sit there and say, what is mine will come to me. No, it will not. It was not made, it was not designed in that way.
Yeah.
So that is actually a myth, that there are certain things that I believe the devil has come to deceive us, so that we just keep waiting and waiting and waiting, saying, I don't have this right now, but it's going to come to me. If it is mine, it will come to me. If that husband is mine, he will come to me. No, he's not going to. If you don't put yourself out there and you stay in your house, no one is going to see you.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
apply for that job, if you don't go back and look at your resume and dust it up and apply for that job is not going to come knocking on your door and say, hey, this is only meant for you. If you don't apply, they'll pick somebody else who applied. If there's one person who applied, they'll pick just that one person. So that
You
is
have to
also
prepare.
something. Yes.
Yeah, you have to prepare for sure. I learned that from the story of David. He was anointed as king, but The next day, he didn't go into the palace. He went back to the field to shepherd the sheep. But whilst he was there, God was raising him up and preparing for the position of kingship. And he knew that he was now anointed. So he was there using his time to sharpen himself, preparing for battle. Because in those days, even kings went to war. It's not just you make a call and assign people to go. No, you were the leader, the warrior into war. So you, as the king, will also go to war. I know that because
Yes.
there's a time that David didn't go to war and he was on the roof of his palace. That's where he saw one of the wives of his warriors naked, showering outside, and then
Mm.
took him and slept with him. And that's where he sinned against God that time and then killed the husband as well because of
Yeah.
it. So that's how I knew that
Interesting.
kings go to war. So kings would go to war in those days. The actual king who wears the crown with his people together in the battlefield is not a king of talking, of saying, "Oh, I'm the king. You guys go and fight for me and bring me the spoil." No,
Yeah.
you're a king because you can also fight. So the guys standing next to him are not just security because the guy is a big belly. No, they're just security because he likes to be around men like him, strong men like him, who remind him
Yeah.
that we are warriors. We move as a, So he's being served as a king, not because he's unable. He's being served as a
Right.
king together with his men because he can do what they can do, even better, you
Mm.
see. So when the time
Amazing.
came for his opportunity to become king, he slew Goliath, and that was his turn. He knew if I solve this problem that everyone cannot solve at that time, only him could solve it. If I solve this problem, that's the purpose
Amazing.
of this podcast. That's the purpose of the podcast. There is something that only you, one person, is put inside of you. You're supposed to bring to earth. Only you,
Right.
which is what makes you special, which is what is your purpose. And David saw that. Yes, I'm anointed. Yes, I'm a king. But all the great men in Israel are shaking because there's this, I don't know, 12-foot giant standing in front of anyone who wants to go. And then he says, I am anointed. I've fought lions for my sheep. Could this guy be greater than a lion? Let me go for it. This is my opportunity to be king. Only him had the
Yeah.
guts to do it, and he did it, and that's how he became king. So, like you said,
Beautiful.
go for it, even though you have the oil on your head. If you don't slay the giant, if you don't attempt to fail,
Yes.
the systems won't let you just thrive. They will reward someone who puts a seed in the ground and breaks the cycle.
Yeah, that's very true. And I also believe that these systems were not made for you to prosper. So if you see how some of the systems are designed, it's not a way to prosperity. It's a way to keep you in. For example, debt. If you borrow from the bank, it's a way to keep you in. That interest rate is always changing so that you can always be
Mm.
paying. So you have to really look into it, thinking that, oh, the world is going to give me this and that and that. No, the world is here to take. So you have to be very smart enough to open your eyes and see, what can I give to the world?
Yeah, exactly. You have to be a producer.
Yes, yeah.
You have to be a producer. Be on the other side, on the producing side, not on the consuming side. Because as much as you're on the consuming side, you become dependent on the producers. Every successful company in this world, every successful person in this world, they make something. They make something. They produce something.
That's right.
Even it's not just I mean there's now also digital products in our day and age, but eventually they make something. If you don't make something, yeah, it's tough for you.
Yeah,
You
which
need to
brings me
make
back to
something.
the branding that you were speaking about earlier. I think it's really important to brand something according to the times we are living in, and also
Mm.
according to something that just catches your eye
Yeah, for sure.
instantly. Yes.
As I was talking about the systems, and you just said that the systems are not meant for you to prosper. I mean, it's
Mm.
someone who designed it in a way that serves them. So whoever designed it, whoever put it in place, is the one benefiting.
Mm.
So you have to negotiate with that present system by introducing your own new concept that the system requires or the other people around it require so that you also benefit in the marketplace. And
Yeah.
going back to my story that I was explaining of more than 6,000 years ago, when men came to the world and God surrendered uh, well, yeah, he surrendered the earth to men, and men surrendered
Yes.
it to the devil because of temptation. So they were tempted based on what they desired, and then they fell. And scripture also goes on to say in the New Testament, no temptation has overtaken men that is not common to men.
Yes.
But in every temptation, you should know that when you are tempted, along with the temptation also comes the way out. God will not tempt you beyond what you can bear because He
Right.
provides together with the temptation. It comes as a package. You know, things that come as a package when you buy,
Buy one, get
when
one
you buy
free.
exactly. When you buy ice cream in a cup, right? When you buy ice cream in a cup, when you open the lid, it comes with a folded spoon at the top of the lid. It comes with a folded
Yeah.
spoon. The ice cream comes
Yeah.
with a spoon. Except if maybe that brand is not very thoughtful, then they just give you ice cream with no spoon, right? But it comes with a spoon because the ice cream goes together with the spoon. So every temptation, especially if you're a child of God, comes together with the solution along with it. And I'm saying when God put the earth and His creation at risk by giving man choice, because He could have just said, you guys are now robots. Everything you do serves me. You just worship me by design automatically. You don't need to choose. Then it's not true worship. It's only true worship if I choose you and I commit to you. So He gave them the options, option A, option B, and they chose wrongly. But in the New Testament, we find out later that Christ was crucified at the foundation of the world.
Yes. Yes.
So when the world was being founded, whatever date that is, when the world was being founded, the foundations of the earth were being laid, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, was already given and crucified by God for the redemption of mankind back to Himself, right? Because God knew that He was putting His earth at risk by giving men this choice.
Mm.
So whatever, and this is what I'm calling evil. When you choose something to use something for a certain purpose that was designed for another purpose. Basically, that is what evil is.
I see what you mean.
When you use something that was meant for one thing for another, that's what evil is. That's what sin is. Sin is a term from the archery world. Archery, the sport of archery,
Yeah.
of aiming with the dart. So sin means to
Yeah.
miss the mark, right? So when you miss the mark is when you take your phone and you use it as a spoon. You've missed the mark. You've sinned against the phone.
Yeah.
You've sinned against the culture. You've sinned against normalcy, right? That's sin, basically. So Jesus was already crucified for the foundation of the world before men even sinned. So whenever evil is coming, it's about to reveal a solution that was already given before the evil came. So
Yeah. That's
Joseph,
prof.
Joseph, Joseph with his brothers being born, being favored, being given the coat of many colors. He had a dream, he told them. I saw sheaves of corn bowing down to one another. I saw stars bowing down to one in the middle, talking about himself as they interpreted it. And guess what happened? Him saying all that and his father giving him the coat of many colors and him becoming the favorite son as the last born. He revealed hatred inside of them. They hated him so much. And guess what? That hatred, as it's coming, is an evil thing, right? If you look at it, you'll be like, oh, this is a bad thing. Why do my
Yeah.
brothers hate me? Right? But it came for a purpose. Even though it's hatred, even though it's from the evil one, even though it's
Right.
evil, it came for a purpose. And the purpose was to drive Joseph away. They sold him, right?
Yeah.
They sold him to drive him away so that he goes into slavery, which is also another evil thing. And he has his own journey, he experienced a lot of stuff, went into prison and all that stuff.
Mm.
All that away from his family, basically persecuted, is part of a solution because God knew there was going to be what? A drought coming, a famine coming. They needed Joseph in that place so that they could survive. So they needed to hate him. If they didn't hate him, they were not going to eat. So in this case, hatred is serving life.
Wow, that is very deep. that is so deep, because we never really look at the holistic situation. We just look at each stage where Joseph was hated. Oh, why did they hate him so much? And then we look at the stage where Joseph is in Potiphar's house and Joseph is in prison. And then at the end goal is Joseph is now ruled
Mhm.
and he sees his brothers. And in my mind, when I'm reading the Bible, I'm like, well, this is the time to get them, but remind them of what they did to you. Do you
But
remember?
they made him a prime minister.
Exactly. Yeah.
If not for them, he wasn't going to be a prime minister. If not for their hatred.
Yeah, so Joseph was really a man of God, because me thinking about it today, if I'm the one who was in Joseph's shoes and I'm the prime minister now, I'll make sure I give you a little bit of my mind. Like, so you thought, to be honest, that's the normal human being of the ordinary person. Thank God, if we're Christians, we're not ordinary human beings anymore. Nothing about us
Mhm.
is ordinary. We're spirit beings. But that's just opened my mind to say, even the day-to-day things that happen to us that want to strike hatred and all those negative emotions, all those evil things per se, we should know that there's an end goal where God is going to take us out of the situation. There's already victory stamped on our foreheads. The seal of the Holy Ghost is already in the situation, and the outcome is victory. So there's no need of stressing and worrying and overthinking, because the solution has already been dealt with by God. So it's good to have that
Yeah.
analogy and looking at the whole picture of how Joseph started and how he ended, and the
Yeah.
goal that that God or Jesus actually had.
Yeah. I say this a lot, that the challenge that anyone is facing right now, what is giving you hell right now, is where your gift is where your purpose is. Your purpose is masked. It's masked in that hell. Your heaven is masked in that hell. So the moment you address that hell, that's where your heaven will start. So right now there's someone who's maybe broke, someone who's maybe feels disadvantaged, and they're born into unpleasant circumstances.
Yeah.
What worries them the most? What gives them sleepless night the most? That's where their gift is, their purpose is, that's where their dominion is. Someone was abused as a child. A very unfortunate case, but it happened. You accept it
Yeah.
and you move on because you want to live your life. At the end of the day, you want to go on and move on. But you use that abuse, you use that pain to reveal something beyond that, because your life is not one event. Your life is not what happened to you. Your life is how you're going to happen to your life. You are happening to your life, not life happening to you, right? So you look at the next story, which is the story that Joseph started, landed them, the Jews or the Israelites, coming now to Egypt for food, which is another
Yeah.
problem. They should have predicted this and foresaw this and prepared themselves so that they don't need to travel to go to another place for food, because that food led them to go into slavery. But it's
Mm.
still okay. But it's still okay. It's still okay because still, even in that evil, God still has a plan. So the famine came, but God had already made a plan with Joseph years ago. Already put
Mm.
Joseph in place to help them out of the famine. Okay, and then they move. They go into Egypt, where they become so many. The Egyptians are threatened. They enslave them. Another evil. But in that enslavery, it's about to reveal another solution that God has already provided. So whenever evil
Mm.
is coming, it's about to reveal it. As I said, it's an ice cream which comes with a spoon. It's about to reveal another spoon inside the ice cream can. So Moses is born,
Mm.
and they're killing every firstborn because the men
Yeah.
have the seed, right? If you kill the men, there's no more seed to make them multiply,
Yeah.
which also shows you whatever the devil is fighting, that's where the answer is multiplication.
Wow.
And every evil that you overcome promotes you to another level. The hatred led him to being prime minister, right? So he goes, so he goes into a river in form of a baby and let them go up so that he's preserved from dying, right? And then the king's daughter, Pharaoh's daughter, comes to the river and sees this baby in the basket,
Yeah.
adopts this baby,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
this baby solution to Israel is being raised by the same king who's going to enslave his people. This same is being raised by the same king who's going to enslave his people. So the devil or evil is already raising its enemy. It's already raising its, how can I say, the poison is already raising its antidote.
That's
The,
deep.
the
Yeah.
fire, the fire is already raising its extinguisher. The water is
Yeah.
already raising. You get what I'm saying? The fire is raising its own extinguisher, its own enemy,
So
but
basically, you're
without
saying the
knowing.
problem is dragging the solution. It's coming along.
It's coming to
The
reveal
problem
something that God had already planted.
that is deep.
So when something that requires your money is happening to you, an emergency,
Mm.
right?
Yeah. Mm.
Right now, something happens. It's coming to tell you that you're a child of God, right? It's coming to tell you that God had already provided funds for you. So that's why
Mm.
I talked about an evil day before and say anticipate evil, right? Anticipate evil. Ephesians chapter 6 says it, right? So that we may be able to stand. That's why I have the
Yes.
whole arm of God. So that when the evil day comes, we'll be able to stand. So keep the armor intact. When you receive funds, don't eat everything. Put an emergency fund. You just
Yeah.
don't know. You put an emergency fund because you don't
Yeah.
know, right? So
Yeah.
that when the evil day comes, you know that God had already provided. You're not worried about the evil day. The evil has come. Okay, I was expecting you because God had already provided. So when you see a
Exactly.
Moses being raised in the palace, you already know an evil is coming, but the solution is already here. So the solution arrives first.
Before the
Like
oh wow.
I said, when you open the lid of the ice cream, the spoon is on the top.
You
You
get the
take it
spoon
out,
first before the ice cream, right?
so you can eat the ice cream.
I think I'm also learning from everything that you're saying. Is really opening up my spirit to be very, very excited and want to continue to listening to you. That is very, very deep. And that is wisdom for sure.
Yeah, that is wisdom. So I've seen it in my life, honestly, without revealing much. But at some point, I couldn't get a visa. I had to leave that country and go back home without my approval or permission or willingness, without my agreement. The systems of this world decided, go home.
Systems of this world.
But every time I pray the Lord's Prayer, I said, deliver us from evil and unreasonable men and systems and events and people of this world. For thy is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, now and forever. Let
Right.
the kingdom of God supersede the kingdom of any man and the kingdom of this world. That's what I pray for. I don't just say deliver us from evil. I say deliver us from systems and people and events of this world. Because I know that they are there, right?
You
So
mentioned the evil. Yeah.
So they forced me to go home. I thought, am I being attacked by the devil? Have I lost my opportunity? Is this a miscarriage of my opportunity? I just started working, not knowing that God had already, He was just giving me a taste. He was just showing me something. Not knowing that God was preparing to reintroduce me into that same environment, but from a higher perspective,
Wow.
from a different perspective. Now I know now. If something
Yes.
happens, it's coming
And
to
now
reveal
and
a
now
solution.
yes, and now now you can testify. Now there can be a testimony. Now you can stand and say, this is where I was. But if you're in the same situation, there's a solution already for you. So I think that is very important as children of God to testify so that someone who's in the same similar situation can be able to raise their faith. Because faith comes by hearing. So if you don't testify, if you don't say it out, no one will ever know. You will think you're the first one to only go through this, and you think there's no solution for you. And I also think
Mm.
that when you're in a situation, it's like a mind block. It's like you're stuck. You do not
You
see
become consumed. Yeah.
in that environment. Yes. And the only thing that can open your eyes, your spiritual eyes, is also to hear the word, to hear testimonies of people who are also looking for that visa. And we're applying and saying, am I under attack? Is this normal? Am I supposed to go through this as a believer? Because also when we get born again, we start to think that as a Christian, we are not going to go through various and diverse temptations. We say, oh, now I'm born again. I have a perfect life, no problems, no situations, no circumstances. But that is not it. Now that you're born again, you're going to overlook those situations knowing that you have God inside of you. So you're going to manifest despite the situation, despite you're going to keep your testimony, you're going to keep your faith, if I should say, or you're going to stick to your confession to say, I am born again. This situation is not going to consume me, and I'm going to stay calm. I'm going to be patient and pray, and God is on my side, and I've overcome because He has said in His word, little children, you have overcome the world. It was for little children. So you yourself, you're already mature.
Yeah.
You're already mature. So you're above overcoming. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Count it all joy, brethren, when you face various trials, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfast.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I just love the word. It just refreshes my mind. It makes me know that what I carry inside is real. I just love it.
Yeah. So just to summarize for our sons and daughters and nieces and nephews who are gonna watch this, it's I'm in a different country right now, a different continent than I'm usually in, and it's a whole different weather. And I think I've done 4 countries in 2 days.
Wow.
4 countries in 2 days. That's the world we live in. We live in a global society, global world, different contexts in each. You stamp your passport in each one. You go through each one. It
Yeah.
has a different law, different terms, different kind of people, different language. You go through it. You relate with it in that manner, in that way. You impose yourself, you benefit, you protect yourself, you navigate through, you go wherever you need to go to get whatever you need to get so that you fulfill your purpose. That's it. So I don't know, how would you summarize this session? What key nuggets would you say we've talked about?
I think my summary would just be the the two main ish stories you spoke about David and Joseph. I think it just says to humanity and to us as a whole, and to our children, and to our nieces and everybody else, that there is power in the name of Jesus, and there's a God who made us with a purpose.
Yeah.
And no matter what happens in life, no matter what we face, there is a higher power. I think that's all I can say.
Yeah, I think people should know that evil comes to reveal something of God that He has already provided for you. Any challenge that is coming is an opportunity for you to get ahead. It's a test, it's an exam for your graduation to the next level. Whatever situation it may be, anything that has caused you pain, a sleepless night, it's an indication. It's coming to, the litmus test.
Yes.
It's a piece of material that you dip into liquid, and then when you bring it out, it shows a color, and that color represents whether the component you are testing for is present or not present in that liquid. So the evil is just coming to reveal what God has already done. Because if it
Amazing.
doesn't come, if that challenge doesn't come, you won't know what you're capable of. That's why we let our children play outside. We let them resolve challenges by themselves. We give them tests, we give them tasks. We don't just keep them in the bubble the whole time and breastfeed them until 10 years old and keep them in the house and not go anywhere because they might just stumble on a rock and fall. No, we let them
Yeah.
go and stumble on the rock and fall because it's part of them. They're growing up and hardening them, and they become part of the world and dominate the world in that way. So when a challenge comes, embrace it. You can cry all you want, it's fine. You can cry. After you cry, wipe your tears, confess the word, and move.
Yes.
If you just let it overcome you, it's a lie. It's not true. You are more powerful than any challenge.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'll just close by saying I remember how the first time you left Zimbabwe, the first time you went to university, you were still very young. I don't remember if you were 19, 18, or if you're 20.
Mm.
I also did the same. So I also left home when I was 18 years old. So we were put out into the world. You're in a new country, different settings. For me, they even spoke a foreign language that I don't understand. They did not speak English at all. And I had to navigate through
Learn.
that. I had to communicate. They would ask me, "Where are you going?" And, I can't speak the language. I don't know how to respond, and I can realize they're not hearing me because they don't speak English at all. So I think that our parents also put us out there and said, "I've brought you up. I've given you everything you need to survive this world. So go ahead and live. Go ahead and figure it out." And for sure, we did figure it out because for sure we had our own challenges, and that's how we grew to where we are today, because we navigated through all the negativity and all the evil in the world.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank God for that. I hope that whoever listens to this will do something meaningful with their lives and know that it's all for a purpose. So thank you for your time. I'm gonna end this.
Okay.